Now, when I first saw the GFX100RF, the first thing that struck me is how compact it was and how they made that happen. Now, one thing that I can really appreciate about the RF is the amount of details that went into the craftsmanship. You know, the top plate itself has been milled from a single block of aluminum, and it takes about 5 hours to really mill in all those small details that really defines the look of this camera. Now, when I'm speaking about attention to details, it shows as well into what you get in the box when you buy a GFX100RF. In the box, you get a braided camera strap, a metal lens cap, an adapter ring, a protective filter, as well as a metal lens hood. And then included, you also have a cap for that hood. Now, having 100 megapixels is definitely a lot, but it brings you a lot of advantage. You know, the fact that you can crop in and still retain a lot of details is of course going to be very useful. But then it also allows for other features like the different aspect ratios, the classic ones, you know, from the film days. One of my favorite is obviously the 65 by 24, which is basically the TX1 panoramic rangefinder cameras from the film days. And it can really give some more impact on, you know, the subject you're shooting. Now, the lens on the GFX100RF is a 35mm f4, which equates to 28 f4 in 35mm equivalency. And I'm not really used to shooting that wide. So it was definitely a great, experience to get out of my comfort zone, try to shoot this wider field of view. And this camera features digital teleconverter, which gives you the ability to shoot at 45mm, 63mm, or 80mm. So you really have 4 different focal lengths in it. Although it is digital zoom, I really like how it handles it, because when I bring it into Lightroom, I do have my raw file and then it comes in cropped in. But if I wanted to reframe it, then I could get the full picture if I wanted, or slightly reframe it. And that lens, it's a GF lens, so it is very sharp and you retain a lot of details. So the controls on this camera is definitely something I enjoy. I'm really used to it. Having the tactile feel of, the shutter speed dial and then the ISO mixed into the shutter speed dial. Very easy access to just pull up and then change my ISO and then drop it back down so it's locked in. So really the controls are something of, a traditional camera with the shutter speed, ISO, and aperture ring. Now, similar to the X100, they've added, that little lever at the front of the camera, which is very useful if you want to change the view mode, or if you want to enable the different views that you can get. So when using the ratios, something that's really neat is that you can either black out. So let's say I'm going to shoot the 65 by 24. I'm going to have 2 black bars to hide the rest of the screen, basically, to give me that ratio. But if I pull on that lever, I can toggle to a different view. So I can have, a grayed out area, so I can still see through what's outside my composition. And if I pull again, I have the options to only have frame lines, so I can clearly see outside my composition if I wanted to include something or exclude it. And then by using this same lever, if I pull on it and then hold on to it, I can enable the built-in ND filter. Now, speaking of similarities, it features a leaf shutter, which is going to be great for a couple of things. First of all, it is so quiet, and that's something that's really different, and that's something we're not used to, shooting that photo and hearing almost nothing. Now, this is going to be great also for flash photography to sync at any shutter speed. Again, that's another benefit of having this leaf shutter into this camera. Now, maybe this will be a hot topic, but I like to shoot both with the EVF and the LCD. So first, the EVF, I was really surprised at how big it was. I was just able to shoot through the EVF and then see very clearly with my glasses on. And then the LCD, I think it's so useful to have, because in certain situations, I want to shoot down low, I want to shoot up high, and I want to be able to tilt that LCD and then not have to basically lay on the floor, and having that tilt allows for that. So it's great because, you know, it's flush. You don't really notice that the LCD can tilt. How would I describe this camera? I think, you know, it's the perfect everyday camera. The size of it, the usability and the feel, it just feels great. And it's a camera that, you know, I think, like a lot of Fujifilm cameras, you know, you just want to pick up and use. You just want to find excuses to go out and experience the world by shooting photos of it. And I think that's what this camera breathes, honestly.